and welcome back. Another episode of Rich at Heart podcast. Thank you all for supporting, watching, subscribing. Please like and comment on the video. And I'm just grateful for y'all, for real. Like, hopefully you guys are having as much fun as we are making them.
It's been a good time.
It has been.
I like coming back.
I love it. You're here. Definitely. And we have a really cool conversation today. So we're going to be talking about the intricacies and just the depth of having an interracial relationship. Okay, because myself in an interracial relationship, my brother in an interracial relationship. You've been in an interracial relationship before too, a long-term one. Mm-hmm. So it's something I feel like it's common now. Mm-hmm. It's definitely a common thing, but still in circles, it's kind of not necessarily taboo, but it's still kind of like looked upon from certain generations and just people in general who aren't open-minded enough to like just see like love for what it is. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But we're going to talk about our experiences about having, interracial relationships, the nuances that go along with that. So tell us a little bit about yours. And we're going to also touch on...
It's all going to...
Yeah. It's all going to come full circle. But do you want to share your experience first?
Yeah, sure. So my last long-term relationship was with a Samoan person. Her family was from Samoa. They came to the U.S., got their citizenship. So it was like not even just like it was interracial, like one, and we were lesbians, so two.
So yeah.
And then there was like the cultural differences, 3, and then religious differences, 4. Oh, okay. So there was just like a lot of...
Were they LDS?
Yes.
Okay.
And so there was just a lot of different dynamics going on, but going into that, like she loves Black women. So like it was...
Yes.
I mean... More in like the last like 5 years have we become popular. Like we've become poppin'. Anyway, so she loves Black women, and I just feel like it was easy for me to be with her because she did. Like it wasn't something like I necessarily had to explain. Because sometimes like when you get with someone of a different race, you feel like you have to explain like yourself, and you have to. Like, it's a whole different learning curve. Yeah. But she had, dated other Black women, and she came from California where there's a lot of Black people. So she already was, like, immersed in the culture. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, so she wasn't, like...
That's what I was going to say. Is she, like, kind of similar? Because, like, Samoa is, like, looked at as a little bit different, too, than what we're used to in Utah, I guess.
Yeah. And, like, out there, like, where she's from, like, they're... a lot like us, like, their culture is a lot, Black culture, rap music, they love that, and I feel like they definitely respect it also. So it was never like a complete like learning curve. However, for me, well, with her for me, like, but going the other way around, for me, learning her island background with her parents being from Samoa, they speak Samoan. They have certain traditions that they do. They do funerals different, celebrations are different. I don't want to say rituals. What's the? I'll just keep saying traditions for different things, and I had to learn that because it's totally different than what I'm used to. So it was never like me trying to be disrespectful or anything like that. It was just me learning and like having to ask a lot of questions so that I didn't ever come off disrespectful. Right. And that, especially to her parents who are very traditional, I've always wanted to, I'm just a respectful person. I don't ever want to, and plus if you're dating someone outside of your race, like you want to understand like where they come from and why they do things, how they do things. Like you want to be a part of like that family and that atmosphere. So if anything, I had a lot of questions and like there was a lot of explanation that was had with me to understand them. Like I said, on just a plethora of different levels. But I feel like it was good because like now I feel like I have a better understanding of a few different cultures. Like if you look into different religions, cultures where people are from, a lot of it's similar. Like you know what I mean? They might just switch something up, but it was a really good learning experience for me. So like now I'm just like more open-minded as to like how other cultures operate.
Do you think you ever did step on anybody's toes or anything? Not in a bad way, but like, you know, I'll say, for example, right, I'm dating, you know, somebody who's Asian, and sometimes like I can't understand her parents that well, so I always like look at Kim just to like make sure I heard right, and I feel bad every time I do it, but I do it sincerely. I just, you know, I don't want to confuse anything.
Because you want to understand.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, is there anything that you guys feel like you did that, like, you know, is kind of you didn't get?
That was like part of the learning process, because her dad like primarily spoke Samoan, like his English is really, you know, broken, so like he's more comfortable speaking in Samoan. And like when her mom and dad would converse, and like her grandma and like aunties and stuff, they would speak Samoan to each other. So for me, just like over time, it was just like asking her like what certain things mean, like you know, keywords, and just being around it and listening to it. So like she would always tell me, I'm like, so what were they, like, what does this mean? Like, what does that mean? So like after 8 years, like there was a lot that I was able to pick up on, but it's just like being able to ask, and like you don't ever want to like be disrespectful, but once like me and her parents like were more comfortable with each other, I felt like I could ask them too. And so, and they appreciated that I was interested in it. Like I was interested in their culture, and I wanted to understand.
Did they ever cross any lines with you? Because like,
yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I know a lot of Samoans. I lived in Salt Lake and Kearns and stuff like that, so I had a lot of Samoan homies. Yeah, for a little bit.
Glad you're safe.
Yeah, and there was this one girl that I was talking to. She's pretty cute Samoan girl, but her brothers, you know, like they straight up didn't like me at all. Like us even conversing, and they were like, "I hate Mexicans." You know, Mexicans this, Mexicans that, and this and that. And I'm like, well, bro, I'm like, you know, yeah, I'm Mexican, but I'm from here. Yeah, I'm from like Utah. Like, you know, it's not like I'm a cholo or anything like that.
You're Miko and
Samoan. There we go. So, but it was like it was a thing. Like I remember one time, because we worked together, and I was walking her out to her car, and her little brother like came up and like got between us and like put his arm around her, and I was like, okay, like I'll see you later. And then she's like, "This is my friend." And he goes, "I don't give a fuck who that is." But he was like a little like young guy. So if he was a dude my age, I might have been like, "Yo, bro, what the fuck? Like, come on." But I was like, "All right, you know what? Just whatever." And plus, they're crazy as fuck.
And they know they have the backup.
Yeah, you know, there's the cars full of cousins or brothers, usos. You know what I mean? So so they're gonna be off
all the front.
Yeah. But I also had a lot of cool homies. I always had a lot of cool homeboys that were Samoan and Tongan Islanders, right? Yeah. And they were chill with me, and like, you know, we kicked it, went and had drinks and stuff. They get a little crazy when they have some alcohol on them, but like I always tell Roman this. I'm like, it's funny because a lot of Samoans, especially out here in Utah, are LDS, right? Yeah. And eventually they're gonna be like the Mexican Catholics, because Mexican Catholics are gangster. They still go out and do dirt and shit like that, but they got the Virgin Mary tattooed or Jesus and shit like that. Like you're gonna see like the prophet Joseph Smith on their chest and shit one day. Like it's gonna get stuck where they're just like banging, and they're like they have their, you know, their TCG tattoos with the Joseph Smith.
Gang banging on Joseph.
What's gangster about the Virgin Mary? Like, every fucking cholo has the Virgin Mary somewhere. Like, what is gangster? But no, that's cool. Like, but yeah. So, did they cross lines with you? Like, did you have cousins of their, you know, her cousins or sisters, brothers, or anything like that?
In the beginning, like it was good. Like, you know what I mean? Until I think like where the disconnect between her family and I, and you know, the racial issues came was when I let her know early on, like I like, because they say nigga all the time, like that's just like part of where they're from. In California, it's normal to them. Yeah. It's not normal to me. And I grew up in an all-black family. Like, we were taught different. Like, you don't use that word unless you're black. And I would express that to her. And she, like, I had to, like, teach her not to say it either. And she got to a point where she didn't. But she can't control her family. But it was always a point of contention because, like, when I was around, they were like, like, you know, I'm just like, this is so uncomfortable. Like, you know what I mean? And, like, I'm very big on respect, especially in their culture. Like, I would never disrespect, because, like, the elders, like, the brothers, the sisters, the older cousins, like, they're, like, that's who you respect, right? And, of course, like, the parents and grandparents are up here. So like I never really, I guess, vocalized it to them. I always kept it for her to relay back to them, but it became a point of contention because she's seeing me upset, like when we go home, and then I'm just like, why don't you say anything to them? Like, even if I'm right there, it's like, yo, bro, like, you know, and like she did do it a couple times, but then it got to a point where they were just like, well, then she don't need to be around. Like, we don't want her around because like we can't just be ourselves. But then to me, it's just like a form of respect. Like, there's certain things that y'all wouldn't want me saying, and I would never because it's a respect thing. But they just felt like there was a pass that was given because of like where they came from. And like, I don't mean it any type of way. I don't mean it like that. Like, that's just us. Like, okay, but I'm telling you, it makes me uncomfortable. And I do everything in my power to respect y'all, and y'all can't even do that. And so at some point after even 4 years, and they still did it, I'm like, okay, y'all don't even care. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, there's no effort. And then as it goes on, it's like, okay, you don't respect me, like just as a person, as an African American person, as your sister's partner. So it was just really awkward going around. So at some point, I just stopped. And so it would cause fights between me and her because she's like, well, they're my family. I can't control what they're saying. Like, it hurts me because you're not coming with me. And I'm like, I just asked one thing. Don't say one word. Like, y'all can throw it around as much as you want when you guys are, like, when together, fine. But when you guys are around me, that's all I ask. I don't care. Say anything else. Just a little respect, because I've had the utmost respect. And so that was always a huge argument between us, and it didn't really get any better. And it was just like, I don't know how, because I know her, like, I know, and even though, like, you know, it's not coming from a bad place, it's still like, me as a Black person is just like a tinge, like a that like goes through you when you like hear it from somebody else.
And chalk.
Yeah, exactly.
Scratch and chalkboard.
And it's just, and even more so because they knew how I felt about it. Like, you know what I mean? And sometimes they're like, oh, my bad. And it's like, okay, like, it's cool. But like, after 7, 8 years, like 9 years, I was like, okay, y'all really just don't give it. Like, so that was like the disrespect for me. And like, it's hard to be in a relationship like that where your partner's family doesn't respect you, your race, or you racially, you know?
Do you think they thought, like, oh, she'll come around, like, if we do it, like, not even consciously, but like, oh, if, you know, she's around us enough, she'll get it that, you know, we're okay to, you know, and so, like, they, just kept doing it, but obviously it was a problem.
It was
bothersome.
Yeah. I feel like I tried to just, like, let it go, like, you know what I mean? And there's times I didn't say anything to her about it. However, she knew. Yeah, she knew. Okay. But I'm just like, I have to be around them. Like, they're my girlfriend's family. But then at some point, I'm like, why am I, like, compromising how I feel?
Integrity.
And exactly. Like, I don't know if I want to call it like a sellout or whatever, but if I give you a pass, I have to give him a pass, her a pass, them a pass. Because then all before you know, everybody's saying English. You know what I mean? And so that's why I'm like, you're my partner. We live together. I love you. Like, I'm sharing my life with you, but I feel like this is where I should be able to assert a boundary and be able to respect it.
Because there's a chain of command, right? It's like, race is a huge, and then you have, like, you know, you respect children, you respect women. Like, so I think people should appreciate, you know, the way, and people who are older, you should respect those always. So it's like they should have that understanding. I don't know.
It's so crazy because, like, so me, like, I'm dating a Black woman, right? Been with pretty much nothing but Black women. Serious relationships. I've dated other races and stuff, but not like, I would say my serious relationships have always been with Black women. And it's never been a thing like for me to use that. Like, I had to use that word with my friends back in the day and stuff like that because I grew up with a lot of Black kids. You know what I mean? It was just the way that they addressed each other. We started addressing one another like that. And for a long time, it was like, okay, whatever. Like, you know, this is how we address one another. But then as I got hip and older to just like the nuances of what that word means and how it affects people and stuff like that, I just cut it out of my vocabulary. And when I started dating my kids' mom, which we were pretty young, we were like in high school when we started dating, it just never was, I just never used it, right? And being around her family and stuff like that, they'd all use it and stuff, and I'd just not use it. Well, even when we're conversing, I'd just be like, bro, or fam, you know what I mean? Something like that. But
a filler word.
You feel like a filler word, You know?
An alternative.
An alternative word.
You have like a list of like 4 alternative words.
But you know what too? What really I would say like this would be like a pivotal moment where I really stopped using it. Even being like I feel like a lot of Latinos feel like they can use it and stuff like that because a lot of us are mixed too. I mean, we've got a little bit of African ancestry, but not enough to be justified to use that word. You know what I mean? Yeah. But a lot of Latinos feel like they have the go ahead, the pass, because a lot of places that are African American, as far as their diversity in the city, there's a lot of Latinos there too. Yeah. So they just grow up together and just think, okay, I have the pass. But what really changed that thought for me was when we were still living in Vegas, we were hanging out with this kid at Circus. I don't know if you remember this, but he was from Chicago. Yeah, I remember. We just called him Chicago because I can't remember what his name was. We just called him Chicago. But we'd hang out with them. We were hanging out with him like all day, and his family was at the hotel that we were at the amusement park for, and he was there for the whole day. So we kind of befriended him. Yeah. And we were talking about this girl. This girl was very pretty, and he wanted to approach her. And I was like, we were talking, and I was trying to talk him up to do it. And he's like, no, I'm scared. I'm like, yo, come on, And he's like, whoa, yo, bro, like, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh shit, like I just killed the vibe, like we've been kicking it all day. And then he's just kind of like, yeah, but in a respectful way, he's like, yo, fam, he's like, where I'm from, he's like Puerto Ricans and like, Hispanics and stuff like that. Like they get killed for using that word, bro. He's like, I'm from this part of Chicago. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that, bro. My bad, And so like it just kind of like changed my perspective of things. And then I became more like conscious of like, okay, that's right. Like it's their thing, I shouldn't use that word. But being in a relationship with a Black woman for so long, it never crosses my mind to use it. And then we have kids now. Yeah. And the first thing, like when I had my son, like I look at him and he's, as he's developing and growing, I'm like, okay, he's a Black man. This is part of his culture. And I can't tell him not to use it because he's Black. You know what I mean? But I'm definitely not going to try to use it around him, or use it around him. But it's just part of the culture. Like it's going to be, as he grows up, his cousins from his mom's side use that word. Yeah. So he's obviously going to pick it up. He's going to use it. And then like with our family, like mom's side of the family, never heard any of them use any of that word, right? Yeah. But like we've had cousins on our dad's side of the family who just like feel the liberty to use it. And not like our older cousins, like especially our older cousins don't, but the younger cousins, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like Royce holds that card, that pass, very tightly. Like he'll straight up tell somebody like, you can't say that. Like
you don't say that.
Yeah, you don't say that. Like you can't use that. Like, you know what I mean? So, but I'm proud of him for kind of like standing up for that. Because I found myself even standing up for it. There was a situation where I was at a kickback with coworkers, and this white girl was just using it. Now she was dating a Black guy, okay, who also worked with us. Yeah. But she was
I got Black kids,
but she was just throwing it like every other word. Yeah. And the dude's house who was hosting the party, he was Black too, and he's kind of like just sitting here chilling like this, like like he's listening and he's like this and that. And I said something. I was like, yo, can you stop using that? Like, can you stop saying that? And she's like, why? Like, who are you to tell me? I was like, yo, you got to understand. And I just kind of gave her like what this word means, where it came from, why it's used amongst, Blacks only now. Like, there's a history behind that. And like, you got to respect the people that you're here with, because there's a lot of Black people here and you're not respecting them. And dude got up and he's like, this man knows what he's talking about. He goes, I didn't want to say nothing because that's so-and-so's girl. He's like, but that's how I feel. Exactly. And then she got mad or whatever, she left. But like,
well, no, like we need allies and like other people to be able to speak up in those spaces, because us saying it, like Black people saying it, like I told you, like people are like, oh my God, you're just being so sensitive. Like it's not, like we're not using it in a derogatory term. Like we're not trying to put you down. Like that's just like how we say homie or like, friend, like, you know what I mean? It's like, to me, that's not friend. Like when you say it. And so I think more people have to be comfortable with standing up to other people, or just vocalizing that, like, hey, that's not okay. Because, like, once they hear it from somebody else who's not Black, and they're like, oh, shit, like, maybe I did do, maybe I shouldn't be using that. But then, like, not every Black person thinks like that. Like, you know what I mean? And I have to respect them for that. Like, I'm like, okay, maybe this Black person's okay with you saying it. Like, you know what I mean? But you need to know who you're around. And, like, my friends, they know that I am adamant about, like, don't use it. Like, I've gotten into, like, plenty of arguments and discussions about it. And, some of them are like, again, you're being sensitive. But, like, for, like, your, for those family, like, how do they feel? Have they vocalized, like, y'all don't say that. Like, you don't say that.
No, there's
but
even...
you just do it out of respect. You just know.
Yeah, I just never used it, especially around them. But
would they be upset?
I don't think so, because they have... I was going to say they have cousins who date outside their race who use it. And they've never really said anything about it. So it's like... But I don't know. It's just it's a respect thing.
It's a you thing.
It's a you thing. But it's a respect thing. But overall, I mean, I don't know. Like, I just think that people, especially in today's day and age, have just been given kind of more liberty to do so. Because even when I was growing up, like, not a lot of people could say that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be a select, certain, like, homeboy to say it. You know what I mean? But even that probably wasn't even... I really don't think that, like, in certain areas, anybody could, like, say that other than, you know, African Americans, Black people. Like, for instance,
never heard it before so much in my life until, like, the past, like, few years. Like you said, like, in high school, it really wasn't a thing. But, like, now I'm just, like, everybody in Walmart, everybody's starting to feel comfortable saying that. And then the argument's like, well... Like, the most influential rappers are saying it. Like, it's in the music. Everybody listens to the music. And I'm just like, again, they're Black.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And so, like, again, sing the lyrics in your car. Like, you know what I mean?
Like white chicks.
Don't bring it outside. Like, especially, and don't use like, my babies are Black. Like, don't use, I got a Black best friend. Like, don't be like, oh my gosh, like, slavery's over. Like, we can't even talk about, like, it's the same.
Not the same.
And then I get, so, like, the guy I talked to, he's Dominican, like, from the Bronx, like, and he's got Black, Puerto Rican, Dominican friends. And, like, imagine, like, in the Bronx, like, on the block. That's acceptable there, like, you know what I mean, for the most part. But what he said, he's like, you go anywhere in New York and that it's just everywhere and everybody's okay with it. I'm like, you haven't met everybody in New York. Like, there are people who are not okay with it, like, you know what I mean, your group, cool, like, you know what I mean, but you can't be ignorant to think that, like, just because it's, like, normal in your group, that, like, because he travels in the Navy, so he's seen different things. So you can't be naive to just think that everybody has that same thought process. Like, you know what I mean? That's in your group, that it's okay, but you have to consider...
Especially in, like, New York, it seems like it's kind of pretty freely
I feel like there'd be more leeway on the coast.
Yeah, but,
like, for sure.
So I was bringing this up to you earlier, like, so when 6ix9ine, that damn rapper 6ix9ine got hot, right? And he's splitting it out like it's his last name. Yeah. Using it every other word, right? And he's Mexican. Yeah. Somebody brought it up on the Breakfast Club, and Charlemagne was like, I don't got no problem with that. He goes, I got Puerto Rican homies, Mexican homies that say it all the time. Like, you guys are offended by that? And then he got backlash on, like, YouTube and all this stuff, like comments and stuff like that. And then when 6ix9ine came on, he changed his stance, which I agreed with his change of stance. But he changed his stance. He's like, you can't say that, bro. You can't use that word. And then the 6ix9ine was, of course, ignorant as he always is. Yeah. And he's like,
dumb as rocks. Dumb as rainbow rocks.
He's basically...
We don't even know what he looks like anymore, right? Yeah. He's just been in hiding.
He's just been... He'll pop up here and there. He pops up here and there.
He's looking crazy.
But like, yeah, I don't know. And then you watched the show Blackish? Yeah. So
all the issues.
Did you? Yeah, they're all great. There was an episode where Anthony Anderson's character was defending the word in his office.
Oh, in his office, yeah.
And then and then there was they were like, well, why can't Latinos say it? And he was like, there's only certain Latinos. He's like, if you're a Fat Joe Latino, yes. If you're a J-Lo Latino, no. But I don't. But I feel like that. I don't know. It's weird. Like who can?
I
like,
still even think Fat Joe is pushing it.
Fat Joe's pushing it.
That's his brand, though.
Yeah, but he grew up. He's straight up Puerto Rican.
Yeah, but he grew up there. Like, I don't know.
But some people in some areas, feel like Dominicans and Puerto Ricans are Black, and if you think about it, they are.
Kind of true, a little bit.
They are. They're dropping us all over the place. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so again, the guy I'm dating, he has like a sister who like is like or lighter skin, has like my hair texture, like one like they can look Black. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes like you can like you just Cardi don't know. Cardi B.
Cardi B's Dominican.
Yeah, I mean she's still Dominican to me, but like, but I accept her as a Black woman. So that's what it's hard. Like as I'm just gonna just be real about it, it's hard for us as Black people because like we get to kind of pick and choose who. And I don't necessarily think that's from the outside looking in, that's not right. But I feel like if anybody gets to choose who we are okay to say it, it's us.
Yeah.
But then I came about like at some point in my life where I'm like, well, I shouldn't say it. I shouldn't say it in mixed company.
Say like, if you would you do away with the word altogether? Because like, you know, they wanted to rebrand and like say like, you know, kings and queens instead of using the word. But like, think about how much like pain and like, you know, people have gone to jail, gotten killed over the word. So it has like a lot of power. Would you do away with the word altogether? Or do you think it still holds like, you know, camaraderie or brotherhood or something?
For me, like, no, I wouldn't do away with it. Again, it's who can use it, when we can use it. I think as Black people, we need to be more cautious of like when we use it. Like in the Black households, it's like don't in mixed company. Like, you know what I mean? There's a certain shit you don't do and say in mixed company because it almost gives a pat. Like, well, if you do it, then like, what's my problem? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've seen that.
So I have in the past tried to be like, okay, I'm not going to say it around this group of people because like if I say it, then they feel like they can say it. But then at the end of the day, but then over the years, I'm just like, no, like I'm the kind of Black person who feels like that's our word. Like, so I can do with it what I damn well please. But there are other Black people who feel like I felt before, like we shouldn't use it at all. Like if we don't want them using it, we shouldn't use it at all. And not even like around mixed company. Like it needs to be like what Roman said, just taking out all, expunge. Just 7 years, expunge the record. Don't ever say it again. Never said it again. But I was watching something and it was like Joe Rogan's like, you saw his.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that was crazy. Like,
right.
And it sounded crazy. Like, and he was like out of context. I was like, nigga, that was a lot of
That's a lot of out of context.
Yeah. Like, I was like, that's crazy. And I don't listen to Joe like that because his like podcasts are like long form and I just can't.
Right.
But I feel like maybe this time he was really apologetic, but I'm just like, yo, you went in.
Especially
it was like
a
as
lot
a white dude like that. Yeah. So like I get in debates with this about like with my friends all the time. I'm always not right and they always like, well, what about this? Well, what about this? And so like back to interracial dating. Yeah. Like with this particular guy, I like, and just anybody I was really honest with him. I said, in this part of my life, I am looking for, I love everybody, like whatever happens, happens. But as far as men go, I'm looking for a Black man because I'm to the point where I'm sick of explaining stuff. Like, I don't want to have those conversations. I don't want to explain who I am, why you can't use that, why my hair is like this, why I do this, like, why would you eat this kind of food? Like, I just want somebody to come in and like understand it. And just like fit in and just like, he's here and like, I don't have to like, I don't have to run interference all the time. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like makes me more comfortable. And he's Dominican and I'm telling him this. Again, I'm very transparent. But obviously I love everybody and like we vibe. So I'm like, not gonna be like, well, you're not Black. So we are not dating. But I've also told him, because like we kind of got into like a back and forth about it. I'm like, I don't have to explain this to you. Like, I don't want to. I said, so if you're going to choose, because I think his ex-wife is mixed or whatever. She's Black and something else. And I'm like, Kate, even that's a little bit different. Like, you know what I mean? Just because of like my skin tone. Yeah. Like, I'm black. So it might be different and people like want light skinned girls and blah, blah, blah. But that's like a different conversation. But for him, I was just like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to explain this to you. I don't want to go through that. I've gone through that. I've had ex-partners and my grandma, she was the one who told me like, and I was probably like 16 or 17. She's like, be careful dating outside your race because they're going to be the first ones to call you a nigger.
That's so crazy.
And I was like, no, like I would never mess with nobody like that. I had an ex who got in a really bad fight and that's exactly what she resorted to.
Oh my God.
And I was like, damn, I was like, grandma was right. Like, you know what I mean? She's been through, she's so 82 from the deep South. She knows shit, but I was just like being naive and I was like, until that happens, or like when you get called that anyway, it's like you said, like nails on a chalkboard. But when you get called that by somebody that you're supposed to love, and you're just like, damn,
Yeah.
like, you know, like,
Right.
you know what I mean? And, like, that's where you fucking went. Call me fat,
Right. Or
call me
something,
ugly,
but
like,
don't go there.
yeah, say I got a hairy
Yeah.
chin, anything. Like, but for you to be like, fucking nigger, like,
Yeah.
what? Like,
That's so crazy because
yeah.
it happens a lot in interracial couples that from what I read, from what I hear and stuff like that. Like, bro, like Lo doesn't even say that word around me at all. Like, she doesn't address me with that word, you know, anything like that. Unless she's talking to somebody or like we're in a group of her cousins, then she might say like, you know, this, I'll just say motherfucker, but she'll this does this and he said that, you know, this, but like, she just doesn't do that. We don't even say that around the kids. So the kids are going to pick it up outside the house. You know what I mean? But there have been couples that I've known that the black person in the couple was like, yeah, they called me straight out. And it's like, bro, you don't cross that line. You know what's even crazier? Because
Is that where you're going?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
but
That's
like,
an interesting subject.
yeah, we'll get into that. But having interracial kids, right? So I've dated interracial girls and I've known interracial girls. And
Biracial?
Biracial. Interracial. Yeah, biracial. Biracial girls. Biracial people.
Strong one.
But they said that a couple of times. Well, one in particular, she was like, the first person to call me the hard ER was my mom, who's white.
Oh, I've had that.
Yeah.
I know
She's
somebody
like,
who's done that.
like, she got upset with me and straight up told me, like, you're nothing but a no good boom. Just like your dad, who's a boom. You know what I mean?
My
and you're
mom
always
was
going to be
emancipated.
yeah, and you're always going to be a, you know, and it's like, what the fuck? Your own mother said that to you?
My brothers, my cousins, like they're all basically married to white women, which is fine. Love is love, but I still just don't understand why. Like, but like my brother, for instance, he grew up with his mom was black, his grandma was black, his sisters are black, and a lot of black men are just like, well, y'all got attitude, like, we never make you happy, like this, that, and the other thing, and it's like almost like to me, it like comes down to like almost like a self-hate thing, like, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, how do you not like find us beautiful? And like, why do you want to get away from like the strength that comes with that?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So that's like, if that, it's like, I just genuinely love like this person. I love black women too, but like, I just like, this is the person I found. It's just like when you get into like listing reasons why you don't date black women, whether it's you're a black man or like a man of a different race, like, y'all are this, like, y'all are that. Like, it's like, you talk to us, like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's a misconception of, like, black women just because, like, we have to speak up, we have to be vocal because who's going to protect us in certain situations? Like, you know what I mean? But also, so, like, you said, like, spick is, like, the word, and I feel like that, was... Like, I remember, like, wetback being the thing
that was...
to say.
If I was from Mexico...
You know what's crazy? Because speaking on that word... Because
that was being thrown away, like, in high school, like,
people
crazy.
from Mexico.
And I didn't understand.
That's, like, offensive to them. And it's fucked up, but Hispanic Americans, Latino Americans use that word against our Paisa brothers, right? And Paisa kind of became derogatory, too.
It was, yeah.
But wetback was like something...
It's not the same.
No, so Paisa used to... Basically, what it means in Spanish is brother from the country, okay? But, like, it's been turned into a derogatory thing. So if you call somebody a paisa, it's like calling them a wetback. But it's fucked up because Latin Americans would use that word wetback against our brothers that were from the other country to demean them.
Right.
Like, you had to cross the border to get here. We didn't, type thing.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so that could be a very...
It's all about modes of transportation.
That could be a very...
That's crazy.
That could be a very derogative word against, like, somebody who's from the other country, like, who's from, you know, south of the border.
See, in my mind, I thought wetback was because of, like, how hard you worked in the field. So, like, your back is all sweaty, because my back gets sweaty sometimes. I get it. Compliment. I get it.
It's like, I'm out here working.
Yeah.
Not swimming. Sorry, should I say that? I don't know. But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I felt like wetback meant. Like, you had to, like, swim across.
Yeah, that's what it usually
means. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't say any of it. Like, even my best friend, like, she had...
Just kidding.
I'm like Andrew... have you guys watched The Brilliant Idiots?
No.
With Charlamagne and Andrew Schultz?
Yeah.
So, like, Andrew, like, every episode, like, they always try to get him to say the N-word, and he was just like, I'm not doing it. He's like, you didn't try... Like, you ain't gonna trick me. But, like, I just never personally said any of that. Cause I'm just like, that is like, I could never, because like a lot of my friends are Mexican and I just wasn't raised like that or whatever. But my best friend, like she has black kids also, and she doesn't say that to them. Like she doesn't talk to them like that. She doesn't say it to me.
Mm-hmm.
She's very knowledgeable about the word, and she knows better. Like you know what I mean? So I don't ever have to worry about her. I've had other friends who would say, and I'm like, bro, like, you just can't. And it's like, well, why? And like explain it. But they respect me as a friend, as a person, and then they don't. But like for me, like when we were growing up, I feel like that's when like it was more like prevalent, like those type of slurs.
Right.
I don't necessarily hear them now necessarily. Yeah. But that's when I had to like make a decision of like, why would I say that to like my friend? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's hurtful to them. Yeah. And so that's why it's like interesting to me, because like people don't understand that. Like I can understand that it's hurtful for you. Like it's a bad word. Like it isn't reflective of who you are as a person. Like you know what I mean? So when we have to explain the word nigga, like, you know what I mean? Like that's all it should be. It's like
I believe in karma too, though. So like they're gonna run into somebody eventually who's definitely not gonna be okay with that word in that setting. Yeah. And they'll get
the fuck out. Yeah.
So it's that's true. On them. Yeah.
And I try to educate them in that way too. I'm like, I'm going to be nice about it. I'm going to try to educate you the first time. Yeah. Like if you don't take heed to this educational
warning.
Yes, like then everybody's not like me. Everybody's not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Like somebody might knock your shit off, like knock your whole block off. Yeah. And like you have to, like that's up to you. Like, you know what I mean? But I'll give a teachable moment for like first, like, you know what I mean? Depending on who you are. That's what I was saying. I'm at a point in my life I don't need to. And I just feel like if we as black people are asking you not to use it, then just don't. Like, don't do it. Just don't do it. It's disrespectful. Yeah. If you don't know where it came from, like, oh my, like it's just cool. Like these wannabe gangsters out here. Like it's crazy. And like me, I feel like I'm in touch with like who I am as a black woman. So, and like the word, like you know, like if you in some context, it means ignorant. So if anything, like I can call this fucking white nigga, like this white person a nigger, like you know what I mean? Because you fucking stupid as fuck, right? But that's not how they like. That's not who they connected to. They connected to us, like right. And so I'm just getting to a point where I'm just, especially like in our circles and like the people that we run with who are in our starting to be in our mid 30s. You fucking know. Yeah. So like I don't need to. I didn't get a degree in education. Yeah. Like I don't need to sit here and explain myself. So especially with dating, it's really hard because like I don't want to have to explain that. And if you don't understand that, if you can't respect that, then we're gonna have a really hard time being in a relationship because like maybe our kids are gonna be biracial. Yeah. And I don't want them hearing you say that. Right. I want like how you said with Flo, like you guys let your kids make that decision. Her as the black mom, like whatever, like you know what I mean. I don't want my whatever race baby daddy or whoever telling my kids what's like what's right and what's wrong, because at the end of the day, like your kids look black, like you know what I mean. Yeah, exactly. They're not gonna know what the other side of them are. Yeah. So you have to teach them how to navigate in this world, in society as a black person. Exactly. No matter how little or how much black they have in them. And I've gotten into it with my friends because I'm like, hey, you need to like let your kids know because they're mixed. But like when you look at them, you know they're black. Right. No matter how like they look like Roman with my hair. Like, you know what I mean? And so like when society looks at you like you're a black man. Yeah. And it's like, well, I don't want to like expose them to that. Like they're too young. Like I don't want to. It's a reality. Poison them, and I'm just like, it's a safety thing for them. The thing is, if you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it, and it's not going to be fun. The world is going to. The world's going to do it. Yeah. And then they're going to be like, yo, and then they're going to be mad at you because like, why didn't you prepare me for this? Yeah. Like you know what I mean? So no matter what my kids are, okay. So how do you feel about this? Okay, so you guys are, you know, Latinos, right? And you have, so your baby is half Vietnamese, Chinese, okay, and your babies are half black and you're Latino. So how do you, and I like tell me if I'm wrong in my view, because I just feel like no matter how much, because there's like the fucking 3/4 or what, like if you have this much black in you, you're black, like, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter. So like, how do you guys feel about or how do you feel as a Latino man with a black, the mother of your children's black?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you guys try to say like, well, they're both, like, you know what I mean? Like, we want it, like, because I remember earlier you were saying like we want to teach them both cultures.
Yeah.
But I just feel like at some point it's like more of like, you have to have those conversations with them because of like how, like, what they look like.
Yeah, that's a great conversation starter, because I told Roman this before. But ultimately, they're gonna have their own mind, right? So, like with his child, for instance, so Jade, being that she's Latino and she's Asian, who knows? She might identify more on her Hispanic side and want to be Hispanic, hang out with Hispanic girls, because she's grown up here in Ogden. There's a lot of Hispanics, you know? Or
I haven't seen that combo.
Yeah,
often.
Yeah. Or she might identify more with her Asian side. You know what I mean? You don't know, because she's going to have her own mind. My kids, they're black. Mm-hmm. They look black, right? They've got black hair. Everybody's going to identify them as black.
But does your family, like, feel some type of way? Like, if you say that to them, like, my kids are black, like, no, but they're also
Well,
Latino.
that's an interesting conversation, because some of them are like, well, you got to embrace your Mexican side. You know what I mean? Or like one of my uncles, like, we'll eat, and Royce will choose not to have the hot food. And he's like, well, come on, you're Mexican. You got to have hot food. You know what I mean? Which now Royce is growing into actually liking hot food, but especially when he was young, they would kind of do that to him.
God, he's into it. It's hot.
But I'm like, okay, I've told their mom this too. I'm like, look, they are racially black. Mm-hmm. They're going to identify as racially African-American black. That's how the world's going to perceive them, right? They're ethnically Latino. They have to check that box. When you go to check the box on there, it says...
Is it other?
Yeah.
The non-Hispanic.
You can check your race, and then it says ethnicity. Are you Hispanic or not? Every checkbox has that. Yeah. They got to check the yes, I am Latino, you know?
That's so weird to me.
Yeah. So they're
Hispanic is
they're ethnically Latino, but they're racially black. That's how it's going to be their whole life.
Yeah.
And I just want them to be proud of who they are, right? But I want them to be culturally aware of where they stand too, as African Americans, because they're going to have to be their whole life. Because now people are going to perceive them that way. The things that are kind of going to come at them are going to be in that light. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whether they choose to like really pick up the Latino banner and carry it, that's on them. Yeah. Like, you know, it's on them. I'm who I am. You know.
But you're not offended, like,
yeah,
if
but I'm not offended.
Children,
yeah, I'm not offended if they're like
take on more of their black traits and like do that, like, you know what I mean? Because I know parents who are just like, no, you're both, like, you can't just be here, like, you have to embrace both. Yeah, but it's hard for biracial kids, to understand like where they fit in.
Yeah.
So do you feel like, I don't know, like, would say his kids are maybe the new generation too, because like say our parents, right? Mm-hmm. That generation is like more like of that culture. If we came from Mexico, if, you know, African American, because, you know, your great grandmother or whatever, they had the history of you know, slavery or something, right? And then our generation, we get to like kind of, you know, go interracial, and it's kind of more normal. That like our niece's generation, like the Gen Z and stuff, they're kind of like, oh, race is kind of do away with, right? So like it's kind of open. Like we don't even think about race. We think more about, you know, sexuality, whatever. But yeah, do you think like with his kids and other, like, do you think there's a thing as like black enough? Because like black is a struggle. Black is like, you know, it's I don't want to say like anything like, but yeah, it's how do I say a burden? But like let's say like one in three, you know, African American men like go to jail once in their life and stuff, right? So like, are they considered black enough? Because it's like, yeah, you have to be of a certain, you know, type of cloth to be black.
That's
so,
true.
Like, yeah.
You know, it's crazy.
What do you feel?
Black enough, or like not being whatever that
of the culture, I guess, as much.
Oh, okay.
So from what, and my little brother, my younger brother, he's gonna be 25. He's biracial, so he's black and white. Yeah. So our dad is black. You see my dad, and then his mom is white, and then he is kind of like a little bit maybe darker than you. Okay. And like I don't know that people necessarily see him as, like, they don't know that his mom is white, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like might identify, well, he said, like, he identifies more with his black side because, like, my dad was a big influence to him. So, like, coming, like, you know, my dad's visitation, like, when my dad got him, my dad was with him on the weekends or the days out of the week or whatever. My dad was listening to rap music, R&B, like, we were watching, like, the show that he watched and he loved was fucking Hustle and Flow. And at, like, 6, he's like, whoop that trick. We're like, Dad, like, can he go back home and, like, say whoop that trick to his mom? Like, I don't think that's okay.
She's not going to know what it means.
Yeah. No, she knows, like, she's down, but, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, he always says that he identifies more, like, he feels more comfortable with his black side. Yeah. And so, and my niece, who's also biracial, we just make sure that she knows who she is on both sides. So she's like, if you ask her, she's like, yeah, I'm black. Like, you know what I mean? She's like, and she just loves everybody. So I think it's just like how you raise your kids, and honestly, it's just like what they gravitate towards most. Yeah. Like, what I hear most from biracial people is that I'm not this enough for this group. I'm not black enough for this group. I'm not white enough for this group. Or I'm not Latino enough for this group. Or I get backlash because I'm light skinned, or I'm too, I talk a certain way. So, like, they really have, like, a difficult road to hoe because, like, they literally are trying to figure out where they fit in. Yeah. And they have to prove themselves on different levels because, like, maybe in, like, like for my brother, for instance, maybe, like, he doesn't want to maybe be too black, like too ethnic, like on his white side. And I can't speak for him. Like, we've just had conversations, like, you know what I mean? But that's, like, where he's comfortable, like, you know what I mean? But also, like, he likes going, like, camping, hunting, and fishing and stuff with his uncles, like, you know what I mean? But I think it's really, I have a newfound, like, not newfound, because, like, my brother's 25 and my niece is 8. I understand more, like, what biracial kids go through. And so, like, that fallout that I had with my friend, I was like, maybe I was being ignorant because, like, I don't know what it's like to have two cultures to adhere to and embrace because, like, both my parents are black. I didn't have to do that. But for a person who's biracial, they're literally, like, just trying to find their place. But I think at the same time, as parents or as family members, we shouldn't have to, like, make them choose. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. I think it happens more in the outside world. Yeah. Like,
that's
more
true.
than at home.
Although it does happen in family circles too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, for instance, so my kids, right? There's only a certain section of her family that treat my kids a little differently. Or all the biracial kids. Because she has cousins that have, like, half white kids, half Hispanic kids, whatever. But they'll treat, like, and it's just a small little certain section. When she sees it, she'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Low will. But they're like, oh, wow.
Maybe that's what she was talking about
it could be.
In the message.
Yeah, because she's like, because they obviously kind of treat the biracial kids a certain way. And they have grandkids that are, full black. And they're just like, oh, like, I don't know, they just
like you
build them up. Yeah, they build them up.
Yeah.
They post like a bunch of stuff about them, but they'll never post the biracial kids in the family. And then when they do post the biracial kids in the family, it's kind of like they have to be in with the they have to be in with the other kids and stuff, and then they're like, oh, this and that.
Oh, shit.
But so the other end, right? Because, like, so dating African American women, and especially, like, my kids' mom. So the other spectrum of feeling the effects of being in a biracial relationship, as far as, the weight being over on me, I guess. She's had cousins who I've heard through the grapevine, and one time heard walking outside and they were talking to her, especially when we were younger. Why don't you date within your race? Why are you with him? Why are you, you do know that your kids are not going to ever be accepted. Like, your kids are going to be looked at a certain way. Like, you're going to be looked at a certain way. And I'm like, what the fuck?
That's ignorance, but it's also, like, so, like, when we hear, like, comments like that, right? You're just like, that's just ignorant. But that's also, I don't feel like we're trying to be, like, we're trying to be protective.
Yeah. Right.
So going back to what my grandma said, like, you know what I mean? She's just like, I don't care, but just know that this could happen. Like, they're gonna be the first ones to call you that,
which is
and like
true.
I don't want you to have to go through that because like it hurts. Like, she grew up with separate bathrooms, separate water fountains and stuff, and even my grandma, she wasn't fucking with white people for white people, Hispanic people. She didn't like Hispanic people. Like, it's just like a trauma thing. Like, so she was more trying to protect me than saying like, you shouldn't do this. Like, but just be aware that this is gonna happen, and it did. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Yes. Because that's just like a word that is weaponized towards us, and people know that. Yeah. And it's true, because it is a reality, right? It's definitely a reality. Now on my end, I've only gotten that talk. Like, I don't know if you've had that talk, but like I've had that talk with like grandmas, so many stuff, mostly about white women. Oh. They've always like told me like, if you date white women, they're gonna treat you a certain way. The family's always never gonna see you, as this and that. They're gonna, never about like African Americans or Asians or anything like that. What do you think it is about white women? Well, you know what? A lot of times, and my friend who's been on the podcast, Adam, has said this. He's like, when I see like Hispanic men date white women, the Hispanic guy always has to change himself to fit in with her family. Yeah. It's never the other way around. Yeah. It's never the white girl's like, changing and going into maybe to visit. I'm going to learn how to cook Spanish rice. Yeah. I'm going to cook beans and shit like that. Like, he has to change. Yeah. He has to be. He has to be the one to change and conform to her family, right? Which I agree, because a lot of guys that I know that are Latino, even African American men, if they date a white girl, they have to conform to be in her family. Yeah, it's never the opposite. You know what I mean? They have to make sure they're like. Right. Worthy, good enough, like they have to prove themselves. That they're not like those other ones that they've seen, like what the media portrays. Right. Okay, speaking on that, I gotta tell this one story. So I wasn't dating her, but I was messing around with this white girl one time, and I was a lot of. Okay, sorry. I don't have 138 though. Hey, shout out to that king though. You got 138, like you straight up. Kudos, King. Kudos. We should count ours. We'll admit ours. Put them together, So anyways, I was messing around with this white girl one time, and I was over at her house, okay, and her dad was there fixing something. Yeah. Now, he didn't know I was there, but he comes out and he said something to the extent of, your Mexican neighbor's out there doing this thing again. And I'm like, and he kind of walks in the room and he's like, and he starts to kind of like talk to her, small talk and stuff, and he's like, going back to that, what I said, he was like, you do know. I mean, you obviously are a good one. Yeah. He said this. You're obviously a good one. You know there's bad ones out there. You're not like those. Yeah, exactly. You're not like those. So going to what you were saying, there's like, they always like, oh, there's these ones and then there's these ones. And I remember even when I was going through my skater phase, there was you lived through it. There was white boys that would tell me that too. They're like, you're one of the good ones. Because the other ones that are doing this and that, like, you're chill, like you're down. I'm like, bro, I'm just me. They're just them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there's no good ones. Yeah. There's no bad ones. Like, we're all just individuals. They're just individuals. Yeah. Like, and I think that's like where we fail to, where we fuck up is like thinking that generalizing all race, like there's bad black people, Mexican people, cops, there's good judges, or like just people are different. Like you can't generalize somebody across the board, but our media portrays, and that's what they pick and choose, and that's why I struggle watching the news, and I don't like cherry pick my content. Like I try to get things from everywhere so I understand, but overwhelmingly the news portrays minorities in a certain way, so that it's almost like that fear-mongering thing. So like, true. You know what I mean? So like they're like all of them are like this, and then so when they realize that we can be educated, we can have degrees, own our own homes, and have families, they're like, oh, okay, like, and then when they say stupid shit like we're the good ones, I try to always like play both sides, like, you know what I mean? I'm just like, hey, you mean it like that? But I was like, no, he meant it like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like they do see that, like, well, you're a good nigger, you're a bad nigger, like, you know what I mean? And I just feel like they are like the media has a lot to do with it. Like especially now, right?
Yeah.
Because like we went through a phase where everybody was like kind of coming together, and then certain administrations changed, and then there was like this big divide that we hadn't seen before. And now, like, I was watching something, and it was just like this gay guy. What's that guy that has like the home? I keep talking about these people who I can't like articulate their names, but he's a gay guy who has like a home improvement show. Oh, okay. And he was just like very, he's very outspoken, very racy about his comments and like what he says. And he was like 5 years ago, he's like, I could have never like done the show like I did it 5 years ago. The climate has changed so much. And like, isn't it crazy to think that like we're kind of reverting back like to what was?
Oh yeah.
Like, it's like it's history repeating itself. Like we've seen all this just in different contexts and different times. But this is what's going on right now is what's already happened. Just now in I don't want to say a more modern way, but if you pay attention, like we're reverting. Okay. Like you kind of have to. It's kind of like the adage is like it has to get worse before it gets better. Right. And like that cycle is like coming back around to where there's the divisiveness, like the protesting, the like we have to come together, understand each other, like court decisions, rulings, bills being passed. Like it's a whole like overhaul of like what was like the status quo.
I was just about to say, so I had thought about this when the whole Roe v. Wade thing was going on, the overturning Roe v. Wade, right? So we can do a whole episode on that. But I looked at that and I'm like, if they can overturn Roe v. Wade, what's to say that eventually they can't overturn the civil rights? Because that was an amendment added with JFK and Lyndon B. Johnson during the Martin Luther King era, only 50 years ago.
And interracial, or not even interracial, interracial marriages and things like that being illegal. Yeah. And then Black people not being able to get married to other Black people being illegal. So that's what I'm saying. Like, where are we going? Right. Like, are we going back? Like,
I hope it doesn't, but it can happen.
It can easily, quickly. Like, and that's what's so scary.
Because I'll go to jail.
You get locked the fuck up. I love you got kids too. You got all the kids too.
So, like, and this is me being like a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but do you feel like there's an agenda type of a thing too? Because it's like, like, okay, like let's say white people, right? Because how I said it, these are my words. They, throughout history, pillaged, raped, colonized, and imposed their history and, that type of stuff, right?
But they have credit for building the country.
They had a head start, a head start, right, over every other race because and they have generational wealth that they passed on and make businesses or buy things cheaply from the past and appreciates value, and while the minorities have to catch up. But do you feel like they're a part in media to like
they own it?
Yeah, but also too, not only to involve themselves in the culture, but to also sabotage the culture to be way more sexualized, to be way more violent. Yeah, and
the golden rule, right?
Demonized,
he who has the gold makes the rules, right? The golden rule. They have the gold. They have all. They've had the wealth. They have the generational wealth. It reminds me like that Nas song, DJ Khaled, Nas album Done. Yeah, he spits so much game in that because he says. He's speaking about Black people. He's like, Black people don't get shit passed down through blood. We get government aid, send their kids through college. That's how it works. And he says that in the song. And he's like, we need to fix this. Like, we need to solve this economical gap. Yeah.
We've been paying for white people to be okay. Yeah. And like, it's crazy. Like, it's not crazy that they don't, like, of course, we're not going to expect them to give us credit for that. But we've been the sole proprietors of why we can live this way, right? And then we get shit on, and not even just as Black people. I feel just as strongly about it as for Hispanic people. Like, you can't come over, like, you have your children in cages, like, you're getting killed just because, like, you want to have a better life. Like, nobody's come, like, if things are Gucci over in Mexico, over in a third world country, you don't need to come over here. Like, everybody, not even just Americans, like, I just think as a human being, you have the right to be safe. You have the right to live, like you have the right to prosper, give something better to your family. So, and sometimes like me and my dad will get into it about this, like, you know, I'm just like, everybody deserves that right. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? He's like, but what about we need ours first? I don't disagree with that.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
True.
We do need ours first, but once we start banding together, and it's not like that here necessarily in Utah, but other places like makes it hard for us to like come together as just a minority, not even just like, you know, Black and Mexican. Like, we are a minority.
Right.
Like, you guys are having a different struggle than we are. While I definitely feel like African Americans like
struggle way more.
Yeah, it's like it's a way
harder.
different thing. Like, you know what I mean? And I get like we need to help our own first, and I'm always gonna do that. But like if we could just like band together in a way that like like we're stronger together. Like you know what I mean? And I think like we get that here, but most people don't, especially white people. They're going to do anything that they can to make sure that we're never going to be okay.
Right.
And which is the fucked up thing, because like what is it, like by the year 2035, like biracial people, like ethnic people are going to like, we're going to be the majority, not the minority.
But that's what I feel like, and this is my conspiracy thing, I feel like depopulation is happening very soon.
You know what's crazy?
And that's what the fear of is to have, you know.
They don't want all of
Check this out. So
shit.
Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know who gets most of the abortions?
White people.
White women.
Like 60%.
White women.
So they're overturning it. Okay. The conspiracy theory behind it is they're overturning it so white girls don't abort white babies.
So there could be
and
more
then
whites.
there could be the populace continue to grow more and more white.
Yeah.
But listen, these white women are wanting to have babies with
exactly.
minority men.
Yeah,
so like they're fucking themselves up.
All, look at the Kardashians, right?
Jesus
Which
Christ.
they're Armenian. I don't know. Is that a minority?
But they just changed it though to going to white guys now. But no.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They're flipping it.
Yeah.
It's funny because like so many people defend the Kardashians. Yeah. But they were like they go through a phase. They were all with black guys, except for Kourtney. She was with that Scott guy who's white. Yeah. Then she went to an extremely white guy. Travis Barker.
Yeah, Travis.
Yeah, but
Did they
now
sacrifice a lamb at their
some
wedding?
weird shit. So well, actually no, they're Catholics. That's MGK.
Sure.
Okay.
Because Travis Barker and Kourtney are Catholics, but
Since when is she Catholic?
I know, right?
They can just be whatever they want.
Supposedly, because he's Catholic, she's like, I'm Catholic now too. But anyway, so like Kim and what's the other one's name? Chloe. Both had nothing but exclusively black boyfriends. Yeah. Right? Now I don't know what Chloe's doing, but Kim's like, I'm hopping on the white train because I can't let Kourtney outshine me.
That's because I got it.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, she even said that. Did you see that interview she recently had? She was like, well, I heard about this, BDE, this big dick energy.
Everybody's known.
And so I had to figure it out. So, maybe it's that, but I think she's hopping on the white train because she's like, well, I can't let Kourtney, who she obviously doesn't like because they fought, I can't let her outshine me. I have to have an extreme white boy too.
8 years ago, they're fine.
I gotta have an extreme white boy too. She says.
You're not gonna outdo me. Yeah, they're all in competition with each other. But the Jenners, they also got black men.
That's true. Yeah.
And I don't know who they.
Even though they're saying that, who was the one that was with Travis? I don't keep up. Kylie.
Yeah.
That she's sleeping with Drake.
Oh.
Who is light skinned.
Fucking Drake. He's mixed. Like, he's biracial again, so we don't know what he... Anyway.
Right.
but I think, like that's... And that's the thing, too. Like, once you, start dealing with a race, you start having a perception about that race, right? Like, you start having, kind of a bias that's fucked up about that race. Like, you start, generalizing them in a way that you shouldn't. You're just like, oh, all black girls are like this, Mexican dudes are like this. You know what I mean? No, that's just, the one that you were with. I feel like there is definitely, cultural norms that are, across the board. But you can't generalize everybody.
That's true.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not across the board.
It's just a cultural thing.
Yeah, and my grandma, I was saying, my 82-year-old grandma, had to use
segregation.
Separate bathrooms, separate water fountains being hosed down. So I can understand why she she feels some type of way. But last week she called, or no, it was this week. She called me. She's like, baby, she's like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, grandma. And she was like, well, she's like, you know, the gay parade, she's like, with the LGBTIQ. She was like fucking up all the acronyms. She's like, just be careful, because it's not safe. Like, I don't want nothing to happen to you. I was like, grandma, that was last weekend. I was like, I didn't even go. Like, I'm okay. But for her as an 82-year-old Black woman from the Deep South to even try to articulate the acronyms and like make sure her granddaughter is okay when she wasn't okay with it in the first place, I'm like, if she can do that, anybody can do that. So like, people are capable of change. It's just like, it's really up to them.
It's true.
And like, something that like Charlemagne says all the time, he's like, we're like literally like relying on each other for survival every day. Like, we're relying on each other to make good decisions, like, so we can all make it home to our families, because like, we can't control the actions of somebody else. And like, that sat with me. I'm like, you're right. Like, we're out in the grocery stores, like, and all these like everything that's happening, like, you know, you really just don't know. And like, we're just relying on people to do the right thing. And so
it is crazy.
And that's love too, though. Like, because like, let's say on the flip side, not to name a race, but let's say somebody was like only thinking, oh, when's my grandmother going to pass so I could inherit her house or something like that, or you know, her jewelry or her finances or something. You know, that's just, there's just cunning evilness out there. But to them, it's regular, it's normal.
It's part of their culture.
Exactly,
you know?
part of their culture.
And that's a conversation too. Are people inherently evil?
I think so. There are some people that are inherently evil.
In position, I think, because anybody is capable of doing anything in position, I think. That's what I think.
I'm just like thinking about what you said. Yes, but like, I feel like if we go off of like what we're learning now about like genetics and chemicals and imbalances in heads, like, I do think some people are born inherently just fucked up, and there's really nothing you can ever do about that.
Do you feel like there's epigenetics where it's like, the genetic is passed down through lineage, so you feel what they felt or have certain traits and attributes and stuff?
Yeah, me and my best friend were talking about this last night. She's like, so if you don't find somebody, like, would you do like donation, like sperm donation or whatever? And I'm just like, personally, I don't think I could, because like, you don't know what that person, you know what I mean? Like, you can read them on paper. People can lie, and I don't really know too much of, I'm ignorant to that whole process, but I want to know how somebody's family is, how they interact with their mom, how, like, what their grandma was like, was their grandpa bipolar, was it undiagnosed, like, you know what I mean?
True.
You can't get that off of a piece of paper, so you get that from being around people, from interacting with people. So for me personally, I don't think donation is for me, just because of exactly like what you said. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know that person. And again, that's like another reason why I don't know if adoption is necessarily for me, because like, you literally don't know where that person comes from and what their lineage is, and like what their backgrounds are, and like,
do you feel like, you think you could feel the energy though? Because like say you're in an interaction with people at a party or, you know, work, whatever setting, like, you can kind of feel their energy. Like, if they're ignorant, but if they're doing something, you know, malicious or deliberately, you know, trying to be something they're not, saying a word. But do you think with kids, do you think it's just too early on for you to tell, or you could sense their energy, like, this kid's gonna be like,
I think you can.
Bad.
The Orphan.
I think
That's a good movie.
That was crazy. She was like 87 years old in real life.
But you can. I really do feel like you can.
Yeah.
You can sense that about kids, you know, what they could become or whatever. And then what you were saying about genetically passing it on. Yeah. Right? Traumas and stuff like that. I 100% believe that. And having my own kids, like I've said this before, like many episodes ago, but when I had my son, I was young, 22 years old. And at that point in time, there was a lot that I was still trying to figure out. And so he's a product of that. He's like the copy of that me, right? Yeah. So I got to like, and that's why it's good too for your parents to be involved, because they can see where you're headed. Yeah. They can see what's going on with you. They can kind of head it at the pass and change it or redirect it if needed. My daughter had her at 30. Way more experienced, way more like life experience and everything like that. And I can see it in her. She kind of like just knows certain things. And her aura is different than her brother's. Like she's much more calm because I was calm. I had, life experience.
Your kids pick up on
Yeah.
They pick up on everything.
Yep. So I do think it's passed on in some ways genetically. I really do. And so it's important. And I think our elders knew that because like a lot of our elders and their parents, grandparents had babies and they kind of already knew how those babies would come out. Like, oh, your daddy was this way. Your granddaddy was that way. So they kind of had that like, I don't know, they had that perception or that sixth sense, so to speak, to know where we kind of don't.
Yeah.
Because we're looking at different stuff to have kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's some people out there who have a biracial kid because they want to have a biracial kid.
Yeah, because they want
they just
look a certain
it's a cosmetic thing for them.
Yeah. But like that's the thing too about being in a type of position that I'm in. Like, do you want to adopt? Like, do you want to get inseminated? Are you gonna have a baby with a man? Like for me, I literally like I need to understand like your family background. There's so many things that can be left off of a piece of paper or left undiagnosed. And we pass those things on. Like like mental health issues, like we pass those on. I'm not saying like I wouldn't love my kid if they had mental health issues. I take 3 medications a day just like to get through it. Like, you know what I mean? I don't shy away from that. I don't not tell people that. But it's a thing that like that people that you have to deal with, like, you know what I mean? And I would just rather have more information than not, just so I know what like I'm dealing with. So like even though like I'm in a position to where like, okay, I date women or I can get inseminated, I don't want to do that because like I don't want to not know. Like, you know what I mean? And of course, like as a parent, no matter how you become a parent, you're going to love that
your child.
Your child, no matter what. But
is that where polygamy came in?
Jesus Christ.
Think about
all
this.
Kinds of pools.
Yeah. But think about this. And there's a study out there. There's like they did genetic thing, but like a high percent of men, especially in like East Asian and even Native American, because that's where their genealogy came from, is related to Genghis Khan. Because a lot of women had babies by Genghis Khan. Because he was the fucking man.
Yeah.
So is Nick Cannon the modern day Genghis Khan?
Maybe. But is it? And he has. Well,
like 3 more.
He doesn't have good genetics because he has lupus. I'm sorry, Nick Cannon. He has
Nick
good
ain't watching
personality.
Nick ain't watching this. Nick watch this.
Because he doesn't have good genetics, but he's a well-standing man, right? Yeah. But like Genghis Khan at his time was the fucking man. He was out there conquering and fucking taking over villages and shit like that. So of course women want to have a baby with him because they're like, my kid might end up like that, like a fucking total badass. So I'm gonna have a kid by him, right?
Yeah. Or he was a psycho and psycho kid.
Well, true, but is that where like polygamy came from? Because you hear like I watch documentaries with Lowe and stuff like that about like polygamists and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's always like the guy that was like the prophet, the main polygamist. Yeah. All the women see him as the leader. Yeah. So like I want to be married to him. I want to have his babies because then my kids could possibly have those traits.
Women like power, but
it's true. But that's what I'm saying about the whole having a baby passing on genetics thing. Yeah. So women want to have babies with the guys who they feel like, oh, my kid can have some of that. Yeah. Yep. You know, that charisma, that smarts. Yeah. That is now I'm gonna have that baby. Yep. You know what I mean? So but our elders knew that. Yeah. Like. Yeah. They knew that. They just kind of knew like
subconsciously. That's probably why they want the
right. They were like, well, I'm gonna lay with him because he. Yeah. You know, he's smart.
Or they can provide.
Or he's
stable. But I think they know subconsciously.
They do.
Yeah. But in a situation like that, a lot of women don't have choices.
Right.
They're
that's
chosen.
The thing too.
Like,
right.
You know what I mean? So they might not give a damn about your power, but they are in a situation where they don't have a choice. Like, you know what I mean?
Especially polygamists.
Especially in like a situation like polygamists or Scientology, like whatever it is. I don't think those women necessarily think about those things. They're just there to procreate. They're there to make babies. Yeah. Like they don't have a choice. So like we can't necessarily liken them to like us who have a choice. Like, you know what I mean? they're
born into it or something. Or
born
raised
into it. They're, it's a cult.
Groomed.
You know what I mean? They're groomed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's the subword culture. So I think every culture is somewhat,
Yeah. So I don't think women in that position are necessarily thinking about his status. They're thinking about their duty.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's what
Except with Genghis Khan.
Except for Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's just like what they know and like how it's been. Like from generation to generation, this is like what they're supposed to do. Like, you know what I mean? And so I don't even know that they necessarily have choices. And I feel like it's really, really, really scary for women right now. And like we need men who are our allies and who are speaking out. Because like women are doing a lot for like this feminist movement, right?
Right.
Like running out into fucking WNBA basketball games just like topless.
Joel Osteen's church.
Like, why did you do that?
They was up in there too, which kudos to them.
Yeah,
Fuck Joel Osteen.
You have to be strategic about this shit, but like we need men to stand up and say like we understand like why this is wrong. Like, you know what I mean? Because they're old, white, decrepit men making decisions about our bodies, and we don't have enough people standing up and saying this is fucked up because people are worried about what's going to happen to them. And I think us as humans, like we are selfish and like we look out for self first, but if you don't look out for the community as a whole, then what your agenda was in the first place gets derailed. So you're kind of doing yourself a disservice, right? Like that's what I think. Like if you're just doing something to go along to get along, I guess. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. Did we cover everything?
I think we did.
What do you feel?
Closing arguments.
There's no arguments. Are we arguing?
Closing statements. But no, I guess mine would be that, like love people for who they are. Have babies with people for who they are. Damn it.
Oh, yeah.
Don't fucking just go out and have a kid because you want, especially young women. I feel like it's the young women who want like cosmetic kids. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Insta babies.
Yeah, insta babies. I'm going to have a baby because like he's fine.
Build a baby.
Or just because he's, a certain race, I'm going to have a baby by him. It's like, that's terrible. And I would say that in your 30s is probably the prime time to have a kid. Honestly, like you wait until your 30s.
Yeah.
I had my second kid in my 30s.
But you guys can have babies until for fucking...
That's true. Men can have babies until they probably are fucking buried.
Just one more time.
Shout out again to Blue Chew.
He wants you to sponsor him, Blue Chew. I just feel like you guys need one more podcast.
Right.
Anyway.
I'd be an affiliate if we go to the site. Just kidding.
Be an affiliate. Shit. I Blue Chew
right? I love that shit. But
you don't need it right now, or do you?
No, it just helps.
Oh,
it's just like
just helps.
It's like I don't know. It's like fucking steroids, maybe.
Okay.
You need it for a special night or just
a special night?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because you can't just take it and have a quickie.
Like on a Wednesday.
Because it's gonna be up for a couple of fucking long hours.
Oh shit.
So that's for a special night.
Especially walking around with the kids.
It's for a special night.
Yeah. Babysitter.
That is not okay.
You gotta have a babysitter. It's gotta be open. Like all night's gotta be. The schedule's clear.
Yeah.
So you've actually tried Blue Chew, not just.
I have Blue Chews.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I hear them promoted everywhere.
Yes.
I've never met some. Okay.
Never met somebody.
Yeah, you guys need to write them.
I have them.
I had a coworker. They put Viagra in her water or something like that.
Her?
She said on my team, but yeah, her. And she said, the women has the same effect or something as a guy. Like she.
What does it do to women?
It makes their blood flow. She said it made her,
their clits are just hard. I'm just kidding.
Or yeah.
I mean, it is a little
just kidding, I don't know.
penis.
Yeah. So
a little one.
I don't know. I don't know too much about it, but I wonder if women Viagra.
You know what's crazy? So
go back to Monday and just ask us.
It's funny that we're.
What you do?
Yeah, it's funny that we're having this conversation. I saw this podcast where they were interviewing a porn star woman, and they were asking her they're like, be straight up. Do all those guys take Viagra?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, Blue Chew or Viagra.
Yeah.
She goes, but the thing is that stuff doesn't work unless you are turned on.
Yeah.
So you can't just take it and fuck somebody you're not turned on by.
Right.
Because it won't work. Like it works, it keeps you erect, but you still got to have like the you know
chemical reaction.
the chemical reaction.
Yeah.
But there's like a shot or something that some porn stars will
they'll take it
right in the fucking pelvis. Yeah. Sometimes right in the dick, but in the pelvis.
Yeah.
And it just shoots them right up, and they're just hard as fuck.
Yeah.
And some porn stars will do that. Yeah.
Oh my god.
But
it's not that serious.
Is the I don't know how long we're going, but is more production porn better, or is it amateur porn better?
I love amateur porn.
I like amateur ones more.
Yes.
I like amateur porn.
When it's
Thank
real
you.
and just like kind of
I can't do the
not
fake
such
porn.
a big production. Yeah.
I can't do the fake porn. Like,
when like it's a perfect body, and like it's like
stupid
scripted,
scenarios, like
done,
oh, you know,
or just doing way too much extra.
Doing way too much extra stuff.
I'm cool. I like public, like
oh yes, I do too.
Yeah,
public shit, like out in the park, in the car, or whatever. Public amateur porn. Yes,
just like make it natural.
But do they finish though?
Sometimes,
yeah.
I mean, sometimes the video is
it's
just them having sex and then they cut the clip off. But there's sometimes where they like finish. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta watch long enough, I guess. Like whatever. But
how long does it take an average woman to finish a porn clip?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Not long.
Not long.
Oh, that's good. Okay,
we don't watch it as long as you guys do.
We don't watch it long at all.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Because sometimes
never get to the end.
You just have it like, hey, sometimes it's only a quick 30 seconds and you're like, oh, I'm done.
I feel like maybe
Close
for
out.
women, like it's just like more flipping through to like see what it is. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you guys already know what we're looking for. Like, I don't know
That's
if like
true.
we look at it is like often, so we're just like, oh, that's weird. Like, oh, that's hella weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're trying to find like what does it for us. So, like, I don't like maybe like we're not, or maybe we are on the longer. Like, I don't know, but you're saying y'all ain't on it.
No,
sometimes.
So you have to find the right video, of course. But like, I'm sure women is probably more to see what gets you going. But yeah, how long does it take when you find the right video or clip? How long does it usually take to finish?
Do your
not
business.
long.
Not long.
Wait, are you talking like with a partner or like
No,
by yourself?
by yourself.
By yourself, both.
I'd say by yourself.
Well, by yourself,
yourself.
like not long at all, because like usually like we have a toy, like we have clitorises that like we already know what to do with. Y'all don't, but we do. So like it's fairly quick.
Okay,
I've never just like spent hours like watching porn. But I know some men do. Like I don't know how they just like fuck up their whole lives.
If a guy's
like,
watching porn for hours, like he's fucking doing it, like he's masturbating quite a bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I heard
painful.
Bobby Lee, the podcaster comedian, he says that he watches it forever and like he'll like keep pushing himself to the point where he will
and then he stops.
But he stops and keeps going. Like that's just a waste of time.
That's a waste of time.
Is that still like considered edging?
That sounds like
I guess that sounds
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like edging. Like you like bring yourself to the brink and then you stop.
I'll do that during sex, but I won't do that during masturbation.
Why do you want to do that during any time? Just like get it.
No, because it can be fast during.
It can be pretty fast. Then you stop. Then you perform some other stuff, and then you get back. Yeah. then you get ready again. Then you go back in.
Because then you have to. It's pressure to get back up, so you'd rather just keep it going. But no.
I love how you like to say congolingus.
I love it.
It's a weird word to me.
It's hella word.
Congolingus.
It's
English or something.
Yeah, congolingus.
Spell cunnilingus. Like a spelling bee.
Think about,
no, I probably can't.
What I thought about though is like how much time I would save in my life if I didn't, focus on women or sex and stuff like that. Like I don't know.
Some guys do it.
I don't regret the time spent, but I don't know. Just think about how much processing power, the computing power of the brain, the human mind has against that. You have sex, when you're awake, and then you have sleep, and then that's 1/3 of your life. Yeah, it's just like dang, our lives are like.
There's a chapter in Think and Grow Rich, which like if you talk to most successful people they've read, there's a chapter in there about sex, and it's about keeping in your sexual energy to drive yourself towards your desires, like your real desires, right? Yeah. And so it's like
like not coming.
Yeah, don't come, don't watch porn, don't do anything that's going to stimulate yourself. Redirect that energy into your desires, and there's a power behind it. Yeah. Like I gotta read that chapter a little more. I love that book.
Do that more. I think
women have that capability because women can just withhold it for longer than a man can, and
that's wrong with you. You guys have no control over any situation.
Well, the thing is, like, men are so one-track minded
Yeah.
Like if our mind is on the goal, it's on the goal.
Yeah.
We gotta finish. We gotta complete the goal.
Yeah, it's the mission.
To move on. Yeah. We gotta complete the mission before we can move on. You know, like,
it's a mission.
like that's why. Yeah. That's why even some guys get so involved in their career or their whatever their hustle. Yeah. They don't even think about sex. Because they're one-track minded. They're thinking about the one thing, the one task at hand.
Men don't ever think about
and
sex.
They're just boom, boom, boom.
No, like say like Kevin Hart,
redirect the
he
energy.
says like he works so much that he can't give good sex and be hardworking.
Because he has to. He's focused on the work.
Yeah.
Poor Michiko. Or what's her name? What's her name?
Nico? I don't know.
Aniko? Yeah, Monaco? I don't know.
Yeah.
Poor her.
Monaco.
Well, he gave her like 3 babies, so like they doing something.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like men are one-track minded. You know, it reminds me of another meme that I seen that a friend that I named earlier shared, and the meme was about like so when the playlist changes during sex and he doesn't change it, right? So it's like R&B music, then it changes to like some hardcore hip hop, and the guy's still going, and I was like, men are one-track minded. Like we're just focused on the task at hand.
Oh,
like
you're thinking of the music.
Yeah. They're just like, I'm just gonna get this.
Yeah.
And
I'm just going for whatever song it is.
It's like genuine, like so anxious and
and then it changes to I don't know the fucking Barney song.
Jesus Christ.
And the guy's gonna keep going because he's focused on the task at hand.
Yeah.
But she was like, no, you gotta fucking change that shit. You ain't fucking up my vibe.
Right.
Like it's gotta be the mood's gotta be set.
Yeah, that is true.
That's how women are.
Women are more
I can't
steady.
get jiggy with the sheet.
Yeah.
I can't get jiggy with the sheet.
I will close it down.
Yeah, so closing statements.
I have to pee.
Thank you guys. That's gonna get cut out.
This went left. But it was a good conversation. If you guys have any comments about your experiences with biracial relationships or interracial relationships, the N-word, how you feel it should be used, how it has been used, your experiences with it, just comment, like, subscribe. We really just want to hear from you. Let us know if like you like Rudy doing this type of content, like if it's helpful for you all. So yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you. Couldn't have said it better.